guys, it's Dani. Today we have quite a light-hearted video. I will update you on some orchids and some projects that we didn't see in a while, show you how everything is doing. We have pretty much good news today, which is great. Before we go ahead and do that though, I just want to announce that I'm taking a break. Well, you know, around this time of the year, I typically take a little bit of a break for vacation. Well, this year nobody's going anywhere, but I still feel the need to just take a break from upload and from editing, give you all a chance to miss me a tiny little bit. Off camera, I will still work. I have so many projects, you guys. I'm so excited. So I will still film, but I do feel the need to take a break from editing for hours and hours and hours. I might still post on the second channel once a week, and if you don't know the second channel, check the link in the description. And this little break will take 1 or 2 weeks, depending how much I can stay away from YouTube. But fear not, we're gonna come back with all sorts of projects. I already filmed rescuing the stressed orchids. I already have new orchids for the terrarium and lots of plans. But yeah, everybody needs a little break from time to time. So with that said, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and subscribe to my channel. Typically, if I'm not on vacation, I post 3 times a week. So with that said, let's start with, let's start with these guys actually, because I do have things to tell you about the Neofinetias. Alrighty then, so the last time we saw these guys was in my greenhouse tour, which for some reason some of you didn't get a notification for and are asking me when I'm gonna make a greenhouse tour. I already did, but probably YouTube didn't notify you about it. I'll link you to it down below. So in that video I was saying that I really like this display here, but I like more this display. I love the pots, and there's also a health benefit to these guys as well, which I will show you. So as you can see, the moss mounding project goes really well. However, I was expecting some algae, but not to this extent, and this is a mild case. Let me show you one of the worst cases that I have, which I'm not really okay with. Can we see the amount of algae here? This Neo is sitting very close to the window. It's getting the most light, so yeah, it has the most algae. The problem is, this algae, if it's excessive, I do believe they secrete a byproduct. I will share with you in the description below an article that talks about it. I always thought and actually experienced bad issues with excessive algae, but this time they took the root tips out of this Neo and also the other Neo that I had here. I had 2 Neos here. So I'm not happy about this. And as I was saying, I was expecting some algae, but maybe something like this, which is not excessive. With something like this, I can work, but not all of them apparently got affected the same way. Now, in this case, there are no issues. And these orchids, apart from looking beautiful, they have no algae, of course, because this is an opaque pot. I also have a top layer of bark. And yeah, I don't have issues with algae in this setup. And the orchids are doing absolutely great, and they look great. And in that tour, I was saying that I would love if I could have these types of glazed pots for the Neofinetias. And P.S. these are pots that Repot.me sent me. I will link you to them down below in the description. I am partnered with Repot.me, but I personally use the products that I like the best, and I love these things. So what I went ahead and did was just order some ceramic little pots for these guys, and I will repot them really soon. I'll take you along, make a video about it, because yeah, sadly I wasn't anticipating so much algae. Other than that, the orchids are doing really great, but the root tips, can we see? They are not present, and this is because of the algae. So I have to do something about it, but I will film a video on it. So far, so not good. Let's put it like that. Next up, the little rock-dwelling Laelias, the Rupiculus Laelias. We have an entire saga with these guys, which I'll link you to down below. They hated the rock setup pretty much in my environment, so I just went ahead and potted them in my typical organic medium, and look at them! They are so healthy. One of them actually produced a sheath, and I could see a tiny little sheath inside this one, but it ended up not developing, which is okay because already we have a new growth. And look at that root production. Some of these Laelias were in better shape than others, some were affected more than others. So there is a difference in evolution between them, but definitely they did not start out on the same level. But I'm happy to say that all of them are looking really, really good. I'm hoping to have some flowers soon, although I did not have these orchids for a long time, just a few months, and some of them really looked bad, like this one. I don't want to move this one because it had 0 roots, and there are actually 2 plants. There were 2 separated pseudobulbs, which are now growing new growths and roots. So I don't want to move it too much, but everybody else is looking really nice. Some of these guys are growing faster than others, but all of them are doing pretty well. So I would have to conclude that the organic medium for them so far looks to be quite suitable. I seriously don't think you need to hassle with all sorts of rocky setups if you are not really all that great with maintaining a rock setup, which is very, very different. It is not absorbent, so it will imply you watering differently, maybe running water or soaking the orchids, since you cannot really rely on a lot of water that the medium can hold on to. So for some environments that can work out great, for some not so great, like my environment. I need water retention generally, but overall, if you don't want to use rocks, use bark. I think it works just great. Next up, the Phragmipediums. I have a lot to say about the Phragmipediums, and yes, there is a big guy there. We'll get to that. Oh, I actually forgot one, hold on. There, the little guy. Okay, so what we see here is a blend of failures and stuff looking a little bit better. I am not yet super on point with my culture for Phragmipediums because they are actually very different from the other orchids that I have. I did test out some stuff out of curiosity, so you don't have to because it didn't end up so well. So first of all, my biggest problem with them is moisture. I'm running out of moisture with them very, very badly, and a setup like this is just not enough. It dries out way too fast for them. They enjoy being moist pretty much all of the time. Some of these orchids that are species actually grow in streams. Water runs all the time on top of their roots. So keeping them moist at all times can prove to be slightly difficult if you have a lot of orchids and you don't have a setup that helps you out, which now I do, and I'm very happy with it, but let's talk about the past. So this is my Popoe, which used to look good a few months ago. He is actually one of those Phragmipediums which supposedly can handle a little bit of drought. And for the main part, he thought he was a Cattleya. He enjoyed the bright light, he enjoyed this medium, but what he did not enjoy at all was the same type of fertilizer as the Cattleyas. So these guys are actually not heavy feeders. So all the time I do prepare a different solution for them. Most of the times I just water them with my reverse osmosis water, and from time to time I do give them a little bit of fertilizer. And that has worked okay from this point of view until one day a few months ago, actually a month and a half or 2 months ago, not that long. I decided to, well, just use the mixture that I use for most of the orchids in here with the Popoe and see what happens. And well, all of these leaves started to look very bad, started to have tip burn. These guys, they were older leaves, they didn't look good anyway. So I'm not gonna count these older leaves, but everything else used to be green. I also have a little bit of damage here as well, and this one was perfect. So lesson learned, do not use the same fertilizer quantity as with an Oncidium, for example, because it will not like it. So I will not do that again, but I will use this opportunity to show you what can happen when you're over fertilizing a Phragmipedium, when you're using a bigger quantity than you should. These guys need very dilute fertilizer, or better yet, a little bit of slow release fertilizer. We'll get to that. So that's the Popoe. Next up we have the Ainsworthy, which is another older Phragmipedium. You can see we have leaf tip dieback here. This is moisture related. I simply could not keep up with the moisture requirements, and I decided to try out a little experiment on this guy. I made a mixture of bark chips, sphagnum moss, sphagnum peat moss, and some perlite, and well, it grows. It's okay. A soil mixture can actually work with Phragmipediums. Also, it can work with Phragmipediums. They are semi-terrestrial, depending on the species. Some are not, some are not, but can handle terrestrial conditions. So this was a little bit of an experiment, and things look okay. It still dries out way too fast, so I might change the pot. Not sure about the medium, but but I will change the pot to something that actually works so well with me. And this is the self-watering pot. Now, I did actually film me trying out the cocoa peat medium with orchids. I'll link you to it down below if you don't know it. That actually happened a few weeks ago. I pre-record videos. Here's an update. They're doing great in this mixture. And furthermore, they're doing great in the self-watering pot. These are my typical lechuza pots. And I have to say, a reservoir lasted me 2 weeks, which is fantastic. But can you believe it? This entire reservoir, only 2 weeks, provided these are orchids which don't have a super big root system, so most of this water went away through evaporation. Yeah, it's that hot. And this little guy I got for free from Orchid Man. He was selling a Bessay little Phragmipedium. I wanted to buy it, and then he told me that the Phragmipedium does not look so well and he's just gonna ship it for me for free, and hopefully I can save it. And I put it in a self-watering pot, same thing as these guys. And he got hydrated. I don't know if I have a picture with him when I received him. It was on one of the orders with the tiny orchids for the terrarium, which I didn't film the unboxing. Too many unboxings lately. And I got this guy and this guy in the back in the same order, just to experiment stuff. And this one had a flower spike which decided to continue growing and open up a little flower for me. This is a hybrid. This is a Ainsworthy crossed with Dick Clemens. So these Phragmipediums are potted in self-watering. I do have a reservoir of water. I am using cocoa peat mixture with a little bit of slow release fertilizer because I want to use only reverse osmosis water on these guys and very dilute fertilizer from time to time. But if I sit around and prepare a different mixture all of the time for them, every time that I water my orchids, it's just a waste of time for me. So I do see that the slow release fertilizer that I added in these pots is okay. It's not burning them. I didn't add a lot, 4 beads or so. They don't need a lot. So it's not affecting anything and it helps me out a little bit in between my fertilizer regime, which is great. So these have been my Phragmipediums. I will get the culture down for my lifestyle and environment. No worries about that. It just takes a while. That's the thing, you can never apply exactly the same rules or techniques somebody else applies simply because your environment might not be the same as the person you're following. So you have to always customize it a little bit. And with these guys, oh boy, didn't I have a lot of customization to do, but I think I kind of got it down. Alrighty, now for the Draculas and Masdevallias. And well, we have the good side and the bad side, which is not so bad. But to my shock and surprise, the Masdevallias are still alive in this heat. So what I'm doing is, in the daytime, I do not run my humidifier, I run my AC. I have a very tiny humidifier, which I don't trust all that much. Reason why, I actually am purchasing a different one, which I will probably make a video on my second channel about. It's a very popular humidifier. So I will change it and hopefully use it more often. But what I do is run my humidifier in the nighttime when I shut down the AC and open the windows, and it gets kind of warm in here, but it saves me a lot of money on the bill. So what I do then, I turn on the humidifier and you can see they're still a little bit wet because it's really early morning right now, and that's what keeps them cool and humid at night. The ultrasonic humidifier has 2 benefits. One, it can cool down the environment, and also it offers humidity, obviously. And for the main part, it works. I mean, this Dracula right here, which is the Felix, she's looking so good. Not even one leaf yellowing. I have new leaves growing. I don't know about the flower spikes, but hey, I'm not going to expect any anytime soon. I just want these guys to be alive, and probably if they're gonna bloom, it's gonna be in the winter months. The Dracula velutina has some yellowing tips, as you can see, but these are the older leaves. The new leaves that grew look pretty good. So yeah, I don't think they have ideal conditions, obviously, but I just want to get them through the summertime, and then in the colder season, everything should pretty much be okay. And it was important for me to try out this method first before actually going ahead and getting a cooler, which I saw in the shops, a evaporative cooler actually, which is a great idea. But first I wanted to see the tolerance level of these guys. And obviously, if I started to see these orchids just droop and yellow and die, I would have went to the shop and spent 100 euros on a cooler. It's okay, but without me pushing a little bit the limits, I cannot learn firsthand from experience the limits of these plants, so I would not know what to tell you guys, you know? So it's another thing to ask you to just trust me and another thing to actually show you. So these are the results so far with the Draculas. I am impressed. I might actually go ahead and invest in a proper cooler. We'll see about that. It's August. In a couple of months temperatures will go down anyway, but we'll see. And these are the Masdevallias. This is the Ignea, which is my favorite. She's doing pretty okay under the circumstance. She had some new growths which she arrived with that are now looking all that great, but the newer leaves that are growing, they're not looking half bad considering transport, considering she had to adjust to this environment. I don't see yellow leaves, which is always a good sign. But here we have the Ova Avis, which, well, to be honest, from the get-go it looked a little bit wonky, and she still looks a little bit wonky. I don't know what all of these spots on the leaves are. I checked for all sorts of mites and other insects. She doesn't seem to have insects, but she's not having a good time. Now, I don't know if this is because of the environment, since I have Draculas doing better than it, which should not happen, or it's just something with the orchid. If you go back, you'll see that from the beginning, it was not looking okay. Some growths were already on their way out. Well, somebody's amused. So yeah, I'm willing to put this one on the maybe something wrong with the orchid list, since the Ignea is actually doing okay right next to it. So this is the update on these guys. As for the flower spike, I can still see it, but it didn't make it through the pot just yet. Let me find it for you. There it is. Let's push the exposure. It's that blackish thing over here. So I'm really tempted to dig through the pot and see where it went, or if it's still growing, but I'm trying not to. I might do that if at some point I will change the top layer. Next up, the Lepanthes orchid. She's actually doing great, but I do want to tell you about a thing that I did. So because this one I have to water separately, it absolutely does not dry out at the same time with most of my orchids. At some point, I kind of forgot to water it. It ran out of water. So what happened was, the leaf, this one there, see, it's still a little bit curled, but it used to be super, super, super curled. That's how I realized something was off. And I looked at the entire plant and it was looking miserable. Well, it ran out of water and it did not like it one bit. So I offered water and within a few hours it got back to normal, which is great. But I lost the bud in the process. Remember it had a bud? Nope, it's gone. However, the flower spike is still continuing to grow, so hopefully we're gonna have flowers soon. I have new leaves. Can you see there in the back, the tallest leaf? That's a new one. This is a new one too, so it's growing, but oh boy, I need to keep my eyes on this one. If it gets dry, even for a second, it hates it. So let me show you what I actually have at the moment, which helps me out a lot. Ta-da, you guys, this is a smart sprayer. I got this from Leroy, we call it Leroy here, Leroy, last year in the hopes that I could use it for my spider mite treatment. And I couldn't because the battery runs out before I even finish 20 orchids. So this is a battery operated rechargeable mister or sprayer, however you want to call it. And what it does is it mists. Let me make a little demonstration. Oops, there we go. So as long as you keep it pressed, it will spray. And of course, you can adjust it to have a finer mist or rather a jet of water. And I wanted to make a video on it because I thought the idea was super cool, but the batteries really don't last all that long. It is, however, very useful if you just want to add some water to some plants, such as this one. Dun, dun, dun. And there we go, all watered. And this is reverse osmosis water, so it will not create deposits on the glass. Whatever white deposits you see on the glass, which, yeah, need some cleaning, they're coming from my birds. They molted recently and it was chaos in the greenhouse. And yeah, I use this in my terrarium as well, and it's super, super useful. And using it sparingly lasts me a few weeks. So charge it once, charge it again next month. So I find this super cool. I will try to find a link on Amazon for it if it's not available in Leroy anymore or you don't have the store, because yeah, it's pretty great and pretty handy. Next up, the Cattleya walkeriana. Remember I told you that I think it has a flower spike? No, it was just a new growth. It just looked a little weird. It had a little sheath to one side and I thought, oh, it's a flower spike. This type of orchid actually produces spikes from next to the pseudobulb, unlike most other Cattleyas which produce flowers from the top. And well, as you can see, it's not a flower spike, but a beautiful new growth. Here's the thing that I wanted to mention today. You'll find this orchid described as a hot growing orchid, and it might be. But if you check on the Orchid Species website, you will see that this type of species has a little bit of variation when it comes to its aspect, but also when it comes to the requirements. Some of these guys grow at lower elevations, some at higher elevations. So yes, you might actually find some walkerianas which will do great in heat. Mine doesn't. Mine hates the heat with a passion. And I did try to grow it outside and I had mediocre growth. Can we see all of these things? What are these things? No, it's not okay. So if you remember in my community post when I saw this and thought it was a flower spike, I told you that I would move it in the greenhouse, and well, I did. And look how good this new growth grew in the greenhouse, which is warm but not hot. It does not compare to the temperatures outside. So a little tip to you guys: if and only if you have issues with your walkeriana, sorry, my Latin roots are showing. So if you seem to have issues with its growth and you know you keep it in heat, put it into a more warm location, not cool, but warm to intermediate location, maybe in your home, and see how that works out for you. It might just be one of those, let's say, strains that derive from a cooler growing species. That is my thoughts on the walkeriana. Who knows, I might be wrong, but this is what I'm observing with mine, and from now on, she's staying in the greenhouse. And lastly, here we have the Stanhopea wardii that I got a few months back, and I placed it in a wooden basket because this is the type of orchid which produces flower spikes from pretty much under it. So as you can see, this orchid is soaking. It is watering day. This is another one of those orchids which I absolutely cannot water at the same time with most everybody else. So I have a little container here which she gets soaked in every few days. So for this reason, I do have slow release fertilizer inside the basket, and I think it's working out just great. I do offer the MSU from time to time as well, but yeah, I kind of need to change this water pretty often. I'm not gonna prepare a little bit of fertilizer just for her because she does take standard doses of fertilizer. She's not a light feeder, let's say. But so far it's going great. She matured these two growths that she had when I received it, and now she's putting on these two growths, which look great. No flower spikes just yet, needless to say, but things are looking pretty great, I would say. Today I just wanted to show it to you and let you know she's doing okay, and hopefully we're gonna have flowers soon. And that's about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I will see you guys in a week or two, or maybe a week and a half. I don't know how long I can stay away from YouTube, but I hope you guys have a good time. I hope you're all well. If you can take a break, I hope you can relax and enjoy your orchids. So I will see you then. Don't forget to check out my second channel in the meantime, because there are a lot of things happening on the second channel as well, with all sorts of houseplants. So with that said, I wish you all a great end of the summer. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, tutorials, experiments, updates, and other fun orchid subjects. If you wish to support the channel, do consider becoming a member or visit the merch store linked down below in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's always nice to stay in touch there as well. And I will see you next time. Bye!